Hey everybody, this is William from the Godzilla Files coming at you today with a review of Shin Godzilla on Blu-ray. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the film itself, things I liked about it, also the Blu-ray in general, special features, and a couple of other little things. So, let's start with the film. And I'm going to talk about the first thing, Godzilla. This is a Godzilla film, so we start with the big man himself. Well, he doesn't start off as the big man, but he gets there. Overall, I actually did really enjoy the film and its portrayal of Godzilla. I thought it was something that was different, that we hadn't seen before, which I actually did really enjoy. Toho has earned the right to, try different things, in my opinion, with Godzilla. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But, I liked all the different stages. I thought that was a really cool idea, seeing him evolve to what we would kind of recognize him as, Godzilla. So that was some interesting, they had some very interesting ideas there. I also felt that overall, as this being mostly a CGI suit for the first time, it looked really good. Toho will never have the ability to compete with a Hollywood blockbuster film. They're $100 million plus films. Toho just can't afford to do that. But overall, I thought this was a first great attempt to do a CGI'd or full CGI Godzilla. I know they kind of mix practical effects and CGI. Seeing some of the special features or behind the scenes features, I should say, on YouTube, you kind of get an idea on how they kind of did all that. But mostly this is CGI, so for a first attempt, I actually really did like it. Some cool things about him. I love the way he first shot his atomic breath for the first time. The black smoke and the flames, and then it becomes like a purple beam. And, it kind of reminded me of Evangelion, and the director's the same. So, there's a lot of shots that borrow heavily from the Evangelion series, the first anime series, and even the new movies. So they're almost like tied together in the same universe in some ways. So I thought it was cool. I thought it was, again, different, which again I don't mind. The only thing I will say is, the one negative about this Godzilla is I didn't really like that he shot out from his back and also tail. In the film, I understand why he does this. Godzilla is always evolving, so, he gets attacked from behind, and we actually do some damage to him. But, as any creature would, he would evolve to kind of stop that from happening. And granted, he does this a lot quicker than, in real life, but, it follows along with what the whole entire movie has been about, with him evolving to become like a perfect, being in some ways. So, I totally, understand why they did it. I just personally didn't like it. It was just one of the few areas that I didn't think was all that great. But, nonetheless, I thought overall Godzilla was great. My next thing I would say is the attack scenes in the film were great. When Godzilla was attacking and he was on screen, it was pretty exciting, especially when he comes ashore again, and this time he's actually dealing with the army. I think that was some of my favorite Godzilla versus army sequences in a very long time in a film. They had tanks going all around, they had helicopters, jets, it was nuts. And, it made up, because there are extended periods of time where nothing is happening other than talking and looking at data graphs, so when these action sequences happen, they have a purpose, they're very well thought out, and I just think overall they're done really well, and the director's very good with that, I would say. The music I definitely enjoyed, the original score, and also the pieces taken from other Godzilla films. Sometimes it doesn't mesh very well, but I did still like hearing the Godzilla theme. It's still such a great theme in my opinion. So the fact that they were able to kind of work that in, I was pretty happy about that. Now, so those were all kind of things I liked. I did like some of the characters. I cannot remember the characters' names for the life of me, but there were a couple that I did actually enjoy, especially the one that, kind of in the beginning was getting the ragtag group of scientists, outsiders, all that all together. I thought his character is the one I like the most out of everybody. And so kind of going into some of the things I didn't like, I did say that the Godzilla suit looked good for what it was, the CGI and everything like that. But there are some shots that just don't look good. And I'm not going to fault it. It doesn't take away from the film, and I'm not going to hold it to as high a standard as, let's say, something like, an Avengers film, a superhero film, or even Pacific Rim and all those films, because all that money is going to that. But there are definitely moments where it does not look good. It's like the transformation for the first time, where Godzilla evolves the first time he comes ashore. His skin's like rippling, and it doesn't look good. At the end of the day, it just doesn't look good. But again, I can kind of look, past that. The story as well is kind of, it's okay. It's just that there are a lot of characters that get introduced in this film as the film goes on. And we don't ever lose a lot of characters in that process. So we're always adding more and more and more. So it kind of becomes hard to keep track of who's who's doing what, where their allegiance is. And that's another thing. This film has a lot of plot lines going on, because there's about maybe like 3 or 4 plot lines, I would say, in the film. You have the Godzilla plot line, you have the military plot line, you have the politicians plot line. You even have like the outside group that's trying to figure out another way to stop Godzilla. You have the American female Japanese female storyline kind of. There's all these different things all going on, and they don't always connect or complete in a way that's kind of satisfying. That's kind of my one, really big issue with this film, is that story-wise, it's kind of all over the place, and I wish they kind of maybe took a couple of pieces out instead of adding more. But that's okay. It doesn't. It's not that doesn't kill the film in any way. It's just that you should expect to be a lot of talking. This is definitely a film, sort of like Godzilla 2014, where Godzilla, even though he is somewhat of the main focus, especially in this film, he's the sole focus, there's so much going on around him that, he's not on screen for that long. I'm sure there's a video on YouTube that shows how many minutes he's on there, but I think it would probably be about the same amount of time that Godzilla 2014 was on screen. So if you had issues with that, you're going to have issues here as well. I don't mind it. I think it's very close, similar to the original Godzilla film, the classic. But I know for some people that's an issue. So, you should just kind of be aware of that. But yeah, so overall, I really did enjoy the film. I waited to get the Blu-ray and do all this because, one, I did get to see it in theaters when it was here in the United States for a couple of days. But I only got to see it once. I wanted to go again, but I never got a chance to. So I couldn't really put my thoughts together for this film until I saw the Blu-ray. Kind of like with Kong. I would definitely recommend this film, without a doubt. If you are the Godzilla fan, you owe it to yourself to see this film. But, the Blu-ray looks great, so you definitely can't go wrong with a Blu-ray, or even DVD. Even DVDs are starting to look better and better. But I have my PlayStation 4, so I kind of just use the Blu-ray. Now, speaking of the Blu-ray, so the first thing to kind of talk about is the English dub. So Funimation does the English dub for this film, and it's a hit or miss, I'll be honest with you. And it's not surprising, because they use a lot of the same voice actors from their animes. And so if you're an anime fan, you're probably going to point out, you're going to be able to pick out the voices. You know, I kind of even picked, I haven't watched anime in a very long time, but even I was able to pick out, you know, voices that I knew. So especially from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, there's a lot of voices from there that I kind of recognized. So because of that, one, I'm thinking of an anime character. So now the voice doesn't even match the person. So I thought that was a problem. You know, dubbing has always been an issue for Godzilla, you know, throughout the whole entire film series. And I will always watch dubbing, the dub version. It's just, I want to sit down, be entertained. I don't want to read. Especially in this film where there's so many subtitles, it's almost impossible to kind of catch everything. So the dubbing actually helps a lot. But I kind of wish they used people with, I guess, more of a normal sounding voice. Everyone just sounds too anime-like. So, and I can see how some people don't like that. But, you know, again, if you've gone through all the dubs of other Godzilla films, this is no worse or any better than any of those. I think it's somewhere right in the middle. So you won't have a problem with it as well. On the special features front, there isn't really anything. It's a bare bones Blu-ray, which, again, this is something as a Godzilla fan living in the United States, I'm used to. It doesn't bother me all that much. I can see a lot of special features usually get thrown onto YouTube at some point, so I'm kind of able to see things like that. Like, they did a special effects featurette that was on YouTube that I just watched, so it was kind of cool to see all that stuff. Wish it was on here, but what are you going to do? The two lone features here, I guess really the one feature is Godzilla vs. the Nerds interview, and it's just kind of a couple of guys talking about the film. It's okay. I don't think being part of a couple of Facebook groups and also even just talking to people in general, I had a much more interesting conversations with them than you're going to find on here. It's like, I'm not even sure how long it was. I kind of was in and out of it. It's okay though. You know, it is what it is. And finally, trailers. So that's something standards. You know, you can kind of see trailers, and they're cool to look at. You know, they're cool to watch again. I remember when they were coming out and I was seeing them on YouTube, and it was exciting. Overall, great Blu-ray, great copy, transfer, everything looks great, and it also does come with the digital HD copies, so you can kind of bring it anywhere. So I definitely like that a lot. Alright, so some final things to talk about. You know, Shin Godzilla, great film, but I think it is going to be a standalone film. I don't see them making another film series out of this. I just don't see that happening. I think it works better, even though they did leave it open for one. I think it works better as a standalone film. And if they do go back to it, you know, they're going to have time because they can't make a live-action film, from what I understand, until 2020. But that's okay. You know, I would almost want them to do something different going forward, because I don't think you're going to be able to match how good Shin Godzilla was or how well it was received by critics. And it's going to be hard to make a series out of this. You know, I don't know. This Godzilla couldn't move for that long without, you know, resting and everything like that. So I can't imagine them being able to make a series out of that. But you never know. You know, we have the Godzilla anime in the meantime from Toho, and we'll see what they do there. But that looks like it's going to be closer to Godzilla 2014 as far as looks goes. But we also haven't gotten a clear view of that yet. And then I guess finally the last thing I want to talk about with this is I've been seeing, like, especially on Facebook on a couple of groups, there's always seems to be like a Shin Godzilla versus Godzilla 2014 kind of posting going. I like both of them. I think both of them do really good things for Godzilla. I think that Godzilla 2014 is a lot better than people give it credit for. I think people have to understand they were not in a position to experiment or try different things. I think they were trying to make a good Godzilla film, and they did that. You know, everyone at that point, there was only one other Godzilla film made in the United States, or a United States company, and that was Godzilla 98. And that was just not good. And I'm not going to get into that here, but it just wasn't good. And so I think yeah, they might not have taken too many chances, and that's a fault that you can definitely give on them. But I understand why they didn't, and I think both films hold up nicely. I don't think either film will ever go into my like Godzilla rotation, but I would say they're both like 7.5s, 8 out of 10s. Um, I would definitely recommend watching both of them. So, that's my 2 cents on that piece. I think you can like both films if you wanted to. You don't have to pick one. But yeah, so overall, great film. Really enjoyed it. Has some great action sequences. Maybe a little too long. Maybe a little re-edit. To cut it down a little bit might have been needed, but still nothing. Nothing that says don't go see this, in my opinion. I'd strongly recommend seeing it. I think most people will enjoy it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this review. If you like this and you want more Godzilla content, definitely look at my channel, subscribe. I think you'll like what you'll find. So yeah, and that's about it. Everyone have a good one. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about Shin Godzilla, the Blu-ray, or just the movie in general. But yeah, I'll talk to everyone later.